Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. Am I overdressed?
No.
I don't mean like...
I'm underdressed from a truck driver.
In a nice way. I mean, I normally wear t-shirts.
Well, I just came off of a trucker shift.
Really? Well, okay.
Rhode Island to here.
So that's where you live, Rhode Island, right?
Yeah. Raised in Virginia.
Oh, cool.
And then moved to Rhode Island in 2000. Yeah.
So what was growing up in Virginia like?
Virginia. Well, Annandale, Virginia. Started in Alexandria. Born in Alexandria. Moved over to Annandale, which is a couple towns over. Mm-hmm. But now there's like the difference between when I grew up in Annandale and what it's like now. Now there's like 110 languages spoken in Annandale.
Why is that?
It's just you're so close to D.C. You got like every nationality on the planet is there. You think, I thought even coming to New York, I'm like, oh, there's everyone on planet Earth is here. But like you go to right outside of D.C., it's like you get it all. And honestly, I didn't even.
Is that people like working in D.C. in the community?
Yeah, I think so. And I recently went to an 8th grade reunion, which is kind of ridiculous.
That's so weird.
I went to a school from K through 8. So we were tight. We were a tight group of people. And I'm still really close to these people thanks to the, Facebook and stuff like that.
Right.
You get reunited with these people. But and it's it's people before music, right? So they're like your friends for all the right reasons, And but when I went to the reunion, I looked around the room. I'm like, wow, we are like, me and my 7 like white buddies are the minority in this room, and I never thought that growing up.
Right.
It never occurred to me.
Right.
I didn't look around my school and go, wow, these guys are from South America, these girls are from Ethiopia. I never knew that.
That's interesting.
It was cool to go back and be like, oh man, this is cool. Because now living in Rhode Island.
What's that like?
You got Irish, you got some Portuguese people, and then some Italian. That's it, pretty much. And it's a beautiful place. It's not the most diverse place in the world.
Right.
But, having that, growing up in Virginia, which Northern Virginia is so drastically different from where I started the band down in Richmond, Virginia, 90 miles south. Richmond's, the capital of the Confederacy.
Oh, is it?
Back in the day. And I went to school in Southern Virginia and then set up shop in Richmond because it was sort of at the time, it was about an hour from my college, and I was playing solo acoustic bar gigs, and I had a little thing going there. I was like, well, I'll just move to Richmond because Northern Virginia, there's a bajillion people that live there.
Right.
And you're contending with Washington, D.C., the Northern Virginia bar scene, which just seems to never end. You couldn't seem to, like, start Richmond
was easier.
Richmond just felt easier. It felt more small town. I know it's blown up over the years, but
yeah, that one's more famous, so I would think that would be hard.
Richmond,
or at least that I've heard of that more.
It's the capital. I mean, it's I can remember when back in following local bands back in the day, and I'd get their postcard in the mail when you're like, my favorite bands are on tour, and they'd write like these places, and one would be Richmond, the flood zone, and for whatever reason, because my family's from New Jersey and Philadelphia, we never really ventured south to go on any kind of vacations or whatnot. So Richmond was kind of foreign to me until I went to college, but I would see these bands that I worshipped in high school.
Yeah.
And they were playing this place, the Flood Zone in Richmond. And I was like, dude.
Oh, the Flood Zone's the name of the venue.
The Flood Zone's, Flood Zone's in Richmond, yeah.
I thought they were calling Richmond a flood zone. I was
no.
It flooded a lot in Richmond.
Well, it was in the flood zone, yeah. And now it's all built up. Like they modeled it after, I think, San Antonio, the Riverwalk or whatever. But there was a famous bar there. The bar, it holds it's like Irving Plaza.
Oh, really?
Of Richmond. So
it's big.
It's a big place. But when, back in the day, you just get this postcard, and bands would write with their own Sharpies back in the day, the Flood Zone, or in these venues around Virginia and D.C. and Maryland, and like Hammerjacks in Baltimore, and it was always the wetlands in New York City.
Right. I remember the Wetlands.
And we got to play Wetlands, and then we ended up having a house gig at the Flood Zone, and it felt like...
What do you mean a house gig at a Irving Plaza-sized venue?
Yeah, we played every Wednesday night at the Flood Zone.
Oh, you were like, oh, okay, I see, yeah. Like,
Dave Matthews had the Wednesday night gig.
oh, because he's from there, too.
He's from Virginia, Charlottesville.
Uh-huh.
And he played Tuesdays in Charlottesville and Wednesdays in Richmond. And I was playing across the street and was fully in the dark, unaware of what they, as the Dave Matthews Band, were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they wrote their own songs. I didn't know anything about their music. I just knew that they had this following that came every Wednesday night to this big bar. And I was just in the business of being the dude in the corner playing covers and stuff like that.
So you started with covers.
Yeah, I mean, in high school you kind of... I'm sort of...
I never did.
I'm envious of these young kids that were like... That now everyone seems to be writing songs. Like younger kids are writing.
Yeah. My
own kid's 5 years old. He's writing his own damn songs.
Yeah.
But it didn't occur to me that was something that you could do in 1989. You'd be
right.
like, well, we would go see bands in Georgetown, and they were playing covers. They were really good at it. When they started putting out their own music, we're like, oh, you can do that. Well, we should do that instead. Why are we playing Brown Eyed Girl 5 nights a week? This is freaking, I want to kill myself. So, it's been nice to, I was just talking to my bandmate Patrick about, I'm not talking in third person.
Sitting
Patrick
here.
Patrick Macklin.
We should give him a microphone, too.
He's on that camera.
You're on this camera, Patrick Macklin.
Okay.
When he has something to say, I'll give him a mic.
Why don't you sit next to Ehud and you guys could share the mic?
Yeah.
Come closer, Patrick.
Well, I have some friends who sometimes are like, hey, do you want to come play this gig? We just goof off at this bar and play covers. And it feels like a snobby answer to be like, I'm just in a place as a musician creatively where all I really want to do is play original new music. If those dudes told me they were going to play a bunch of songs that they wrote last week, I would be so stoked to go play with them.
Right.
Because I want to create something in the moment. I'm way then trying to. I was never a guy who learned how to play. I had cover gigs, but I never once learned how to play the songs. I did my own version of it. This is before people could look up how to play a cover on the internet.
I never played covers, really. I started writing songs because I wasn't that good with the ear. So when I would try to figure it out, I would just end up writing my own song. It became easier just to let's mess with these 2 chords, and then I would just start writing.
That's great.
Yeah, I guess so.
When did you get a guitar? How old were you?
I got a bass when I was 14 or something like that.
Okay.
I started on bass.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But Joe, when you played the bars in Cleveland as a professional, was that cover songs or was those?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was in a blues band. So
in Cleveland.
We
just got back from Cleveland.
Where did you play?
Played the Music Box.
Uh-huh. How was it?
It was cool. That room sounds great.
Yeah.
We've had so many good shows there. I have a friend who's doing a documentary on the Agora.
Uh-huh.
We used to play the Agora. We've House of Blues when they moved into town.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Odeum down in that the Flats area?
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time. Cleveland. It was weird. Yeah. when the band got. When we did all our touring and then we got signed and then we put out a record, all the markets that we were doing good business in, they didn't play a single second of the record. Philadelphia, New York, Boston.
Just built it live.
Yeah, we were selling out 2 nights at Irving. Nobody in New York would play a song. Philly, Boston, all these places.
How do you explain that?
And then the towns we'd never been to, I think they thought we were like some new thing.
Is that because of the college kids?
Why were
you pulling in such big audiences?
Well, we started as a college touring band.
Kind of maybe sort of similar trajectory to what Dave Matthews was tapping into?
For sure. He was definitely a college phenomenon, I think. But I remember getting our first college gig out of Virginia and driving to Princeton to play at an eating club, which I didn't even know what that was. I'm like, what is an eating club? It's like
it's a club where people eat.
Yeah, well,
That's what you'd think.
I would have paid top dollar to have that any day of my college career. It's ridiculous.
Eating club? I'm a member of an eating club of one in my kitchen. I'm the only member.
I want to come play there. Can I play Thursday nights?
I don't think I can afford you, bro.
I think you totally can.
I don't know.
The rate has dropped significantly since those days.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah, and we're not gonna close with me and Julio like we did back then.
Well, then it's off because that's my favorite song. Then no deal.
Well, it was eye-opening to see. As a band we made the decision no more fraternity parties, backyard, whatever it was around Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and we said let's just play New York, and it was. The clubs, it was a quick, they just came. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's like, why you people, you'll come into New York City. All right, cool. We'll do this in Chicago. We'll try it in Boston.
That's incredible. So was the first time you did that pretty scary? Oh no, what if
Yeah, because it's hard to turn down that money because the college money was it kept us alive.
Yeah.
And to say no to a fraternity, dude, we'll pay you
10 grand.
Yeah, some stupid figure.
Yeah.
And all the free beer. They always had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But it made sense at the time, and it's still to this day. We'll play City Winery, or we'll play, if we're doing Bowery or Irving, and it's those people still. It's our fans who are now prominently turning 40, 45. In that window, they're if they had kids, their kids are manageable. They can get a sitter. There was 5 years where it was the dark ages of the Pat McGee Band, where every one of our fans, it seemed had a baby that they couldn't ever leave sight of, and our shows were people can't get unless we bring a sitter per person. No one's coming to these gigs, man.
The daycare at the concert.
Seriously, it's ridiculous.
That's a startup.
Oh my God. Yeah, the liability, I can't take that. But, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel because we've stayed the course, People are like, oh, shit, let's go act like we're back in college. Let's go see that. Let's go see that band again.
Yeah, you hang on long enough, and it kind of comes back around.
Yeah, it's weird to be that band because, I don't know. It's cool, though. It's we just had a Kickstarter thing, and that was really eye-opening because a lot of people wrote these notes. A lot of couples met at our concerts. They have families because they met at our shows or whatever it was. That's cool to hear. And they started their whole family based. I got one of your songs framed in my man cave in the basement. I'm like, really? All right.
Yeah. And you still, because you went solo for a long time too, right? 5 albums of solo stuff.
Well, technically solo. So the band got together in '96 technically. I had a record prior to that, and then in 2006 our drummer passed away.
Right.
And when that happened, he was 38.
It was a heart thing.
It was a heart thing. His father died at 39.
Or a heart attack, or
he had a condition, and he had seen the doctor 2 weeks prior to that and got a good checkup, and one thing led to another, and I get a call. We're out with. We were doing an acoustic, me and Chardy, or the percussionist. We were out in Tucson with the Gin Blossoms or something. I get this call, and his name was John Williams, which is also the name of our piano player, Jonathan Williams. We called him Chris because John Christopher Williams. Anyway, got this call. This is John, Williamsburg police. We can't find who his parents are, but we know he's the drummer in the Pat McGee Band. And they tracked me down through my father. This is pre finding people on the internet. And so it was it stopped the band in the tracks for sure and made us go, well, how are we going to keep this going? And I was a solo artist before the band, but if it didn't say band on it, half the time they screwed that up anyways. Even when in the heyday of the band, we'd pull up to Irving Plaza and it would say Pat McGee, and the band would give me a hard time. Say, oh, I guess we're off tonight, dude. So it ended up, the solo thing, I never really went solo. It was more of it's not the band unless Chris is there. And we've recently regrouped and made this new record. And,
And So Kickstarter's still going on, I guess, because it was like really successful. He was telling me it was like
it was
over the top.
it did go over the top. It was crazy, but
Congrats.
Thank you. It's those things are hard to wrap your head around. I don't know if you've ever done anything like that.
I did a pledge one, and it was good. Yeah, it worked out. But yeah, that was nervy too, because it's like, what if nobody contributes?
And you have to. I don't know why. I mean, today as I'm packing our vehicle to leave for this, we're shooting a video on Monday for a new song on this record, and I'm loading up my van with every last piece of nostalgia of my band, because it's like a throwback video. So I'm going through my attic literally and finding all kinds of crap. It's taken me a lot of time.
What'd you find?
Just all kinds of random stuff that the band accumulated in totes, photos and old clothing and old like road cases that I wouldn't be caught dead carrying around because they're just heavier than God. But they have a Pat McGee Band stencil, so they're coming to the video shoot. I mean,
really?
Like I'm bringing all this old crap, all my old guitars that I don't really use anymore. They're coming to the shoot. So, but I'm loading out. And I'm listening.
How did you like cart all that stuff? Is it like, did you get a trailer or something like that? Or
no, I just remove all of the seats from my family van.
Oh, okay.
And further destroy the inside of this vehicle. So the trade-in value will be $100, and it's fine. But
that's why we didn't do this in the city, because we were worried that the stuff in the van would get stolen. So,
I probably have.
So we came out to New Jersey.
I have a college tuition worth of vintage instruments now crammed in my hotel room, but there's other stuff in there that I hope that the parking garage here is.
What's that song called?
What's that song called?
The one you're making a video for.
Oh, it's called Broken Heart.
Broken Heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it going to be a nostalgia video?
Well, that song was the first song that we worked on for the new record.
Uh-huh.
And when I started writing for this record, it wasn't. I didn't set out to be like, oh, let's do a reunion record. Go, let's write those songs. The music kind of it came out, and I'm like, well, there's only one band that sounds like this music. This is the original sound. This sounds like something I would have written in '97.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get the band. It sounds like a Blues Brothers thing. Just like, let's get the band back together. So, and it really was an easy thing because,
Was it like a heist movie where you had to go convince each member separately?
Yeah, look at you in your candy-ass monkey suits. But it was, I don't know. I mean, once they heard the music, I think everyone's schedule is kind of crazy. They live all over the place now.
Yeah.
And they all have, some of them have real jobs, quote unquote, but some of them have other, music gigs that take a lot of their time. And so it was cool to, honestly, we did it under the radar. We did it, not a thing that we normally would do, but we booked a studio session on New Year's Day.
Uh-huh.
We host a New Year's Eve, throwdown, and we did it in Richmond this year. And it's always like you need 3 days to recover, but I'm like, we're going into the studio the next day.
Right.
Let's go in, having never rehearsed. Whatever we put down on tape, the first reaction to this song will be, because we were not a band that ever rehearsed.
Right.
We were a band for technically, 10 years strong of just never stopping off the road.
Yeah.
I think we rehearsed for our one Warner Brothers session record, but we never were like, let's go practice, because I was a solo guy that had 25 gigs a month.
Yeah.
So I just handed the calendar to the band and wrote the word band at the end of my name to all the clubs and said, we're just going to go out there. So we weren't
you had to
rehearsing.
Learn the songs anyway, right?
Yeah, but we I come from more of a Allman Brothers, Grateful Dead background.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that we learn them playing in front of people. I didn't care.
Yeah.
And the musicians are so good that John on bass is he's always exploring as it is. So it's great. And our percussionist.
That goes with the Miles Davis.
Miles Davis, yeah. I never perform. I just rehearse in front of people. That's what Miles Davis said.
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish I did rehearse a little bit more. But, honestly, I like the unknown. I like going to a show and it not being a staged thing.
Yeah.
I get that there's people that do that and they have to do it and it works for them. But I like the and it goes along with being being a musician for a career.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Someone may call you. You might get an email.
Yeah.
It's be like, dude, this is the coolest shit ever. Now we get to go do this. And I feel that way about the set of music. All right, we might have like, we play for 2 hours. There might be 30 minutes. It's kind of like, we're trying to find something and we didn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
But that other, you know,
hour and a half.
Yeah, that time we really took off and did stuff that we've never done. And there's some songs we've been playing for 25 years.
Right, like when you don't put the parameters on, it's like sort of more risky, but then there's no parameters or something like that.
Yeah, I dig that. And I know the band is, they're willing to just follow me into the unknown, even though I'm the most uneducated of all the musicians.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if you go see Bruce Hornsby, and Hornsby's the frickin' Beethoven up there,
mm-hmm.
and his band are all badasses because they got to hang with him. And he's doing his thing, and he gets up and takes it into a different time signature, different key, and then leaves stage and lets them do their thing, comes back in. I don't have that skill set. I've taken 2 guitar lessons in my life.
Yeah.
I rarely know what key the song is in.
Yeah.
I definitely don't know any theory of any kind. So the guys in the band just look at each other and yell numbers, and shake their head in disbelief at why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I like that. I like that I'm sort of taking people on a little bit of a ride, even if it's the band as well as the crowd.
You do have to have faith to be an artist, you know? Like what you were saying, you never know what's going to happen. Like you can get a call or an email the next day and things can change.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that Steve Martin movie where he was, it was like a spoof of a movie about being a director, and he always loved the scene. He's like, if I'm a director, FedEx is going to deliver me some like script, and when that truck comes down, it's so exciting because I don't know what is in it. I forget what it was. A pretty it was like almost like a Spinal Tap version of actor movie. I forget, it came out in the late 90s, but anyway, it was I think Eddie Murphy was in it too. I forget the name of it.
Bowfinger?
Yeah, I think Bowfinger, right?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Bowfinger.
I think that I remember they were in a movie together.
Yeah. And it was about being like wannabe actors, and they get a script and they try to make the best of it, and like that unknown is cool.
Yeah.
And there are days, because it is stressful as hell. I'm a father of 4 kids and got to provide, but I don't, there are the days where I'm like, man, I wish I worked at like, I don't know, like the scene out of Spinal Tap. I'll sell women's shoes.
You do real estate too, don't you?
No.
No?
No.
That was a joke?
Shit, no.
Yeah,
he put it in the notes
that you
do real estate with your wife. That's the note Ehud gave me.
The closest I ever got to that is we used to watch HGTV.
That's a relief.
Yeah. So.
But you do, is the part about you having a church band a joke too, or is that true?
I definitely don't have a church band.
Dude.
Where are you getting this information?
Where are you getting this information? I was like, we can talk about church. What?
Oh, our member, one of the guys in the band who left the band in 2000, who ended up starting this church band thing. But it's not me.
You.
No, it's not me.
So you don't go to church and you're not a real estate agent.
No, I do not.
Good job, Ehud.
I do not kneel down to the altar of real estate.
Or Jesus.
No. I just no. I try and, it's the every year, if all the musicians out there that do their taxes and fill out, I'm still a musician. It always amazes me that I'm still like, holy crap, I'm still doing this.
Right.
And my oldest daughter's about to go to college, and I do feel like it's a finish line. Like, you're able to go to college and you can say to your friends, my dad was a musician.
Yeah.
For my entire life. Like, he didn't have to like throw in the towel,
Yeah.
And it's not like I sit there and go, I gotta keep doing this. I honestly would not do anything else. So, as my father was always like, you don't have a plan B, do you? I'm like, no, I don't.
Was he cool with that?
He was cool enough. I mean, they went to Penn State and had PhDs, but they were always creative. They wanted to be creative people. My brother, went and got his master's. My sister's got her master's, and I dropped out of school to be a musician.
Yeah, I never even went to college.
If I didn't go to this college, honestly, I went there, to be truthful, chasing my high school girlfriend.
Right.
And
did you catch her?
Yeah, and then we split. Thank God. For both of us, because it set me on a path of like, you know, being a musician, and I'll never forget. And if she's listening, I still apologize for putting my speakers in the back of her brand new iRock and ripping the she had an iRock Z, like with the T-tops.
My kind of girl.
Oh yeah, like I was not man enough for this
girl
situation.
with an iRock, what?
Yeah, I'm like, you have a way cooler car than me. And I remember putting my speakers in the back of her car and like tearing a little bit of the leather.
Oh.
And she was pissed.
Yeah, well, who wouldn't be?
Right?
It's an iRock.
I mean,
I don't even know what that
it's
is.
a killer ass car,
dude,
bro.
it's sweet car. Sweet car. And I was like, can I drive out of school? No, you can't drive out of school. Fine, I'll sit over here.
Yeah.
Just drop me off at my mom's Buick Regal station wagon.
What was your advice to your daughter, to go to college or not to go? Like, she's obviously going, but did you have input?
Yeah, I definitely have input. I mean, you know, you just know your own kid, and you know if it's a good thing for them, or if it's something that, you know, that may or may not be the right fit for them. But she's really into rowing crew, which has been something that she picked up late in her childhood, not till 9th grade. So
that's like when people are all in a boat together. Rowing.
Yeah, they get in a boat and they just crank out. But she wasn't doing anything.
All together.
I'm just,
all together.
Hanging out.
Just making sure. It's that thin, long boat, and it's like people fucking cranking it.
In Boston on the river or something, right?
Yeah. You are
Where do you
quite
do
the
that
sportsman.
in Rhode Island?
Well, it's the Ocean State.
Oh, okay.
So there's water. We're surrounded by water.
And you're making fun of me.
Rivers for that.
No, we do it right into the surf.
Oh, okay. Really?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. That's Hawaii. That's Hawaii.
Hawaii 5-0.
Yeah. They don't have that. No, they you know, I'm proud that they do that. That's cool that they're you know, focused on that. But
like if you got a passion, you're like you're
cool.
You're winning. I mean, there's
That's
so many
right.
people that are just asleep at the wheel of their life and
right.
don't have that. So, you know, like, you know, taking the risk of being an artist, it's like if you have a passion, you're engaged in a passion. That is success in a big way, because a lot of people never find that.
You know, so I have this 5-year-old son, Jack, who plays drums freakishly well at 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bragging thing. It's like he just loves music. He's been that way since he was a little kid, banging on stuff. And then it started with dancing. Like he was a crazy good dancer, like
Good rhythm.
really like odd, like for a 2-year-old to dance like Bruno Mars. Like, well, what's this going to become? And then I have all these drums in the house. So he eventually just found his way down there, and now he's doing the piano. And people are like, you got to get him into lessons. You got to get him on the Ellen show.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't get it.
Right.
Like, I just love that he is so in love with music and the way it makes him feel.
Yeah.
And whatever that ends up being in his life is great.
Yeah.
And it's like the rowing thing.
Nah, man, monetize it.
Yeah, monetize it. Like,
Come on, bro, get him on Ellen.
Where's his YouTube channel? What the fuck?
He could have millions of YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't.
Well, at least put him in a video. I think that much.
You know, I thought about putting him in this.
You should put him in a video.
He did ask.
I would go that far.
He did ask me if he's like, can I be in this video you're doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't see why not, because these days everything's freaking, you know,
Well,
whatever
listen,
was taboo
you
for
do
not cool.
Put videos of him up on Facebook, because I've seen him play the drums. He's amazing.
Yeah, I do
Well,
put
that's one thing.
I do
that's
put
different
those up.
than getting on Ellen.
No, I put those up, you know, honestly. Yeah, and I wouldn't even. That's ridiculous.
Are your other kids musical?
My youngest daughter played drums for a moment, and she bailed. But she's got it in her. I'm like, it's going to serve you well. You're going to be in college or at some later in life party, and there's going to be a drummer.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, you know, here comes the song by the Beatles. I can play that. And she's going to blow people's mind by just, like, being able to hang.
Right.
And that's cool. That is cool. You know, that be able to do that. But I think that just the rowing and anything that gets your blood pumping, and it can just
spiritually or physically or anything.
Yeah, you get exercise in your body, and you're like you're gonna have thoughts. So it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, we're not heading to the Olympics or anything. We're just trying to decide if it's gonna happen. You know, so whatever.
So when you had some, I assume you've had some lean years or some scary years in this thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you persevere as an artist through those times? And I'm speaking for myself too, because I definitely have had a bunch of those.
Of course. Years, yeah. It's
us who hang on to careers on the fringes of
Well, I think everyone goes through that. I mean, whatever level someone's at,
Right.
And everyone's fringe is a different fringe.
It's a different fringe. I just mean not, massive buckets of money raining on you.
And I was saying to my wife the other night about writing music. I'm like, listen, I've gotten to this point where I just love to write music, and I'm just gonna. I'm not going to ever stop writing music, and this current stuff I'm writing now is the record I've been wanting to write for 6 or 7 years. I'm like, I grew up loving harder music than I ended up writing because when I started singing, I was like, well, I'm not going to force my voice to sound like, AC/DC or you're talking about Living Colour last night or The Cult or these bands that I covered in high school that I loved, like the harder guitar stuff. But at the same time, I was obsessed with James Taylor and Jackson Browne and
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison. Like, I love that vibe because I fit into that quickly. Like, it was easy home for me. But I would also love to just be someone's guitar player and be Jimmy Page for a night if I could attempt it.
Yeah.
So. I'm in a place where I'm just sort of writing.
So it's more rock and roll, this new one?
I hope so. I mean, and maybe I'm not even the singer. Maybe it's a different project. And I know that's it is a fringe, scary thing to be like, oh, geez, how are you going to, where's the money in that? I know the look my wife gives me. Okay, well, what's that? Where does that go? And how does that, I can't worry about that. Not sound like uber artist. But at the end of the day, I'm still doing this almost 30 years later. So
you got to follow your instincts.
I'm just going to do it, and maybe, I always joke, I'm like, we're going to win Best New Artist before I'm 60, I swear to God.
I'm still, man, you and I are gunning for that same award.
I swear to God.
I'm telling you, man, I want to win Best New Artist, too.
I'm
telling you.
I've already prepared the speech, man. I'll tweak it every 10 years.
I got mine folded in the back pocket. You want to compare them?
As long as we thank each other if one of us wins.
All right, well, now we have to. It's in stone.
I'd also like to honor Pat McGee tonight.
He really deserves this, guys. Next year for Pat. But in those lean times, how do you I don't know, what kind of methods do you use to keep your spirit, from going down the dark rabbit hole, or keep your spirit up? What are some of your techniques or secrets just to help us all out? How'd you do it?
I think at the end of the day, and I'm not a.
If it wasn't a church band, what was it?
That has never been a church band, that's for sure. But I think if you're writing something, and if you write something that you wake up being like, damn, I'm super proud that I wrote that song. It's going to be good. I can't wait for this next record. I can already see what it's going to be.
Do you always have that, though? Because I get sometimes disillusioned where I'm just like, that's a good song. I don't really give a fuck. I get that disillusion sometimes. Yeah, you never got that disillusioned?
Not so far that I'm like, well, it's never going to see the light of day. Fuck that.
I mean, I don't stay in that place, but my mind will drift into that place.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just try and lean on the music and hope that, I certainly don't have some sort of a sugar mama situation where oh, life's just pretty. We can just sit back. I meant more
do you meditate? Do you run? How do you keep your spirit lifted?
I have the kids, but look, I've in the last year I've tried to. I was in the bad habit previous to that of making a to-do list every day that was impossible, and every day was setting myself up for failure. I got to get these kids off to school, and then I got to write these songs, do all the business stuff of being a musician. That takes up so much time and creative mind space, Do
you have a manager?
No, I fired managers years ago, and
self-manage.
I do it all myself. And it's, those are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could afford a manager, but then I would be so like.
Well, you just give them a percentage, but then that's
Yeah.
affording, I guess.
Yeah, but sometimes managers are like,
Damagers.
Yeah, I've had some rough ones.
Yeah.
I've had some really rough ones. Everything that was, the band did it ourselves, and we essentially got signed ourselves, and then they came in because I felt like, well, I can't be the one that yells at Warner Brothers, so let's hire a manager,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna make some videos. We gotta have somebody doing that. So, I don't know. It always felt like taking the hands off the wheel was the bad idea. I know it's like taboo back in the 90s to be like, it's my own, you're your own manager. Like, well, but I just didn't find the right guy. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Everything was always so fast paced. I was never able to sit down and be like, take a breath. Is this the right person? But I focus on there's 2 festivals I was mentioning that I have.
Right.
So I'll pour my creativity into the one in North Carolina or the one in Rhode Island, and I'm passionate about them. I think that it's important to do it.
What are those called?
One's called Down the Hatch. It's in North Carolina every spring.
Is that for members of AA? Just a joke.
Hey, good one. Good one. As I slug back this
go
water.
for a porn reference.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. Holy shit.
No. I often think about renaming them,
Down
but
the Hatch.
it's too
The
late.
second one is great.
Ocean State of Mind. Well, you're going to come
Down
to...
the Hatch is fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Down the Hatch is, it was not a... It's an obscure description for the actual title. Most people knowing the band back in the first 10 years, because probably every guy in the band walked around with a handle of beam in their hand at all times. We were that
Oh, you guys
we were a bunch of clowns.
I was a clown.
Woo! We really
clown.
We really
I was the Joker.
We really yeah. We lived it up. We for sure lived it up. And but Down the Hatch, to me, I think I just come out of my daughter was in a school Alice in Wonderland play.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a tune for the play, actually a song I originally wrote with Jason Mraz, and we tweaked it to be in this school play. I thought it'd be cool to be like, you know what, let me like do something so like different. So I wrote a song for Alice in Wonderland, and obviously in the back of my head sometimes like that Tom Petty video, like, all right, so there's this other underground world that people don't know about. The whole play was about that. And so I'm like, well, this festival needs to be this other world that people don't know about. So I'm calling it Down the Hatch. And that's really what it's about. It's not about doing shots or any of that shit. That does happen. But it's really about that there's this world that we create in North Carolina for 4 days. And it really is special. And it's,
kind of like Burning Man in North Carolina.
I've never been to Burning Man.
Me neither. But
on the beach.
Is it like it's like?
It's just so I always got, I don't want to say bent out of shape, but like when you go to a festival and the headliner is always at a certain time, and then the least famous artist is on the tiny stage in the tent over by the bathroom.
I always get pissed off about the way they like write the names huge and then
huge
everybody
font.
else, and then it gets smaller and smaller.
Oh, yeah,
and it's like you have to get a magnifying glass to see like the bottom line. It's like, really, we need to do this.
Yeah,
like this hierarchy needs to be here. Come on, guys.
I know it was.
Tone this down a notch.
There's many things that I.
It's true. That's what you always look for. What size the artist.
The font.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It's like I ain't seen that.
I mean, put the headliner a little bigger. How about that? Can I throw that out there? Like just I don't know, a couple extra points for the headliner and keep everybody else dignified.
It's like the fine print that nobody wants to read.
Yeah, exactly. You're down there with the trademark.
Anyone past the line,
I'm playing right after copyright.
Yeah, we don't adhere to that rule. Everyone's the same font size. At Down the Hatch. Equal font billing.
This is my kind of festival.
I'm telling you right now, man.
Damn, dude.
And
take note, festivals. Coachella.
Nobody plays at the same time as anybody else.
That's cool too.
And for the first 8 years, I never gave the schedule to anyone.
You
were not allowed to know when people played.
That's great.
So you had to sit there in your beach chair with your cooler and just wait for someone to show up and play.
Yeah, and you would invite unknown people too.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
it was mainly an unknown thing. I wanted the people that opened up for me that I thought were incredible to get some love.
Yeah,
and
that's the secret of your success, man.
Yeah.
Right there, that spirit right there is like, because you're giving it back, and that's why you're maintaining it.
I hope
and
so.
growing still.
But it's really. So the other night we were at Fenway seeing Zach Brown Band, which I haven't been to a mega show like that in a long time. And these were guys who we used to do a lot of shows with.
Right.
And they brought Lucas Nelson out, who opened up and absolutely freaking crushed it.
Willie Nelson's kid.
Willie Nelson's kid. He's incredible.
Does he play with Neil Young too? Is that right? Or?
I'm sure he does.
Okay. He's just badass.
He's just, he really is badass. If Willie didn't exist and Lucas is his own thing, it's rare you get these kids that are that unique. Granted, he opens up his mouth. It sounds a lot like Willie's tone.
Is that right?
But he's a badass guitar player. And the songs are raw, and he's unapologetic about it. And he seems like such a kind person. If you can play a stadium and you're like, that dude is super nice, and he doesn't only says a few words, you're like, there's a spirit in that guy. You're like, first off, he's raised by Willie Nelson, so
right,
and I'm sure
that's a leg up.
That's a little bit of a leg up, and So my point is Zach brought Lucas out, and not only did he bring him out, but he did something that we used to do as a band, and had him play his biggest hit in the middle of their set at the high point of the show. Which is
genius.
Super cool, man.
No,
they didn't come out and do the weight or some other bullshit.
That's over the top.
Let's do freaking,
let's do the weight, bro.
Yeah, we're going to can't always get what you want. Everyone sing along. Lucas, sing a verse. Cool.
Come on, Lucas.
Let's do one of the Willie songs.
He did his opening set, and then he brought him
did his opening set. And so when Train was out opening for us for, almost a year straight, they were the first of 4 bands in this thing that we did. And they had this song "Meet Virginia," which was not on the radio yet. And they crushed "Ramble On" by Zeppelin, which they still play and destroy.
I crushed "Ramble On" at Carnegie Hall at the Zeppelin tribute.
You did that?
I did "Ramble On," yeah.
Oh, hell yeah!
I mean, I sort of just patted myself on the back by saying I crushed it.
I bet you did crush it.
But I did crush it, honestly.
Ooh, I would like to hear that. That's
anyway,
badass.
Yeah, I love that
Congrats.
song. That's not thank you.
Well, you got to play Zeppelin at Carnegie Hall.
I know it's good.
You need a T-shirt that says that. You did
I know,
that.
right? I'm gonna go Sharpie one up when I get home.
Sharpie one up. Is that a Trump reference because of the Sharpie?
Oh my God, bro, that is a stretch.
Well,
I did hear about the Sharpie thing,
dude,
but I mean, come on.
Like you said, Sharpie. I was like,
oh man, no, it's not a
what
Trump
year was
reference.
this Train thing?
Sharpie's so excited about this whole thing. By the way, they're just selling
This
mad amounts of
podcast is
pens.
sponsored by Sharpie.
Yeah,
that would be a great
Sharpie,
sponsor.
take note. Yes,
we'll fucking love that.
They can do anything.
Call
Sharpie.
Ehud.
I would even take a Trump sponsorship. I guess he's got money. Money's money.
Okay, we just got canceled.
Money's you just
we just lost a lot of our fan base.
I'll be
80%
editing that out.
80% gone.
Ehud said that. And he's Jewish. Okay. So, I mean,
So back to
you
Train.
do the math on
Back
that.
to Train.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so okay.
Well,
yeah,
the
Train
point is,
story.
we used to bring them out. We used to say, hey, there's 17 people here when you open up, and you destroy these 2 tunes. People need to hear this.
Yeah.
Save it. Don't play it during your set. And we did it at Irving Plaza. We did it with Vertical Horizon there before they had their hits.
That's amazing.
Howie Day. And because honestly, man, I grew up going to concerts, and it was like you want people to leave there and be like, what a freaking great night I just experienced. And now it's like they got so many other reasons to not go to shows.
Yeah.
So if they get off their asses and come to a show, they should leave and be like, that was so worth it. The band's got a lot, like everything was such a great experience. So why not, if the song is that good, stick it at the end of the show, give them some love, and have enough confidence in your own show that you're not going to get one-upped by the opener, no matter how freaking good they are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, because look, there was, Zach Brown set the record at Fenway for 11 sellouts in a row.
He did?
Dude, over Billy Joel and McCartney.
I didn't know that.
It's
That's
insanity,
wild.
man.
Yeah, they did 2 nights at Citi Field like last year. or even this year.
Yeah, they were just there. They were just at Citi Field. So it's...
How many nights am I doing at Citi Field? I forget.
We're playing
is it 3 or
Section 5 on the upper level.
Oh, I'm playing in the basement there.
You're playing every night.
In the lounge act room?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At the concession.
It's amazing, yeah. Look.
We're busking at the subway station for Citi Field.
Yeah. We're on our way to Fenway to see Zach Brown, and these are guys that, we played with, and I have a little show in this little restaurant in Rhode Island the night before my festival. And all I need to really sell is like 60 tickets. I'm like, Tara, we're at 9 tickets. We've sold 9 tickets. She's like, that's pretty good.
I love it when I hear shit like that.
I'm like, we got 9. Maybe we'll hit 11 by the end of the night at Zach Brown. I'm like, he's giving us 9 free tickets to his show that cost $600 a piece, or
That's
something
wild.
ridiculous, right? Like, there are 9 people standing right there, like.
And as an artist, how do you when you because I deal with similar shit.
Sure.
And that's I guess where I'm getting at too, like keeping our spirits up when there's and not comparing, because it's like. Yeah,
oh, you can't compare.
You can't compare. It's like
No.
it's also like how do you go about that?
Even Zach would probably say, "Dude, this is so absurd," because he'll know full well of what it was like to be like, "I'm playing Eddie's Attic in Atlanta.
Yeah.
God, I hope I pull 20 people.
Oh yeah.
If they ask me to come back, that's great.
Exactly. I still feel that way.
Well,
I'm at that Eddie's Attic in Atlanta. I would love it if I packed Eddie's Attic.
Oh yeah. Well, there's I don't know if you listen to some of these comedians that go out and they have the same thing where they have to start over and they go to the comedy clubs and they're like, I got to rehearse this thing live in front of people, and I gotta it's so like oh my God, it's just a scary way of doing it, and I don't know how I think at the end of the day, I don't know, you feel like even if there's 20 people there, and I think Sting said it one time, was like,
easy for fucking Sting to say.
It's easier, yeah, right.
It's easy for Sting to say.
It's harder to play for 20 people than 20,000.
That's true, though.
It is totally. It's totally true.
It is true. Because I've played massive shows before, like going on stage with Ben Harper or something like that, and it's like just a massive amount of people.
Flanagan said that too.
And it's like there's just like it's so there's the fourth wall or whatever is so massive.
You're playing into an abyss of
whatever. You're just playing into an abyss. But yeah, if there's 10 people that you can look into their eyes and see them yawn in the front row, that's like that can like send you down a rabbit hole.
Or if they get up and leave,
right?
Well, somebody leaves like during a song,
checking their phone. You're like, hey, can you?
Yeah.
You know.
But you know what? I've gotten to a point where I've embraced that moment and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And I think that those are the times that you're going to win people over, and if you can conquer those awkward situations, because they'd be terrified as hell to be sitting where you are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to get up there and do that, and they're probably feeling a little weird that you didn't. Oh, I feel bad. You didn't. More people there. I love when you finish the show and they're like, it must be like it's Thursday, so.
Or how about this one? You should be so much bigger than you are.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that old chestnut. Like, how often do you get that? Like, man, I don't understand why you're not a huge star.
Yeah, I don't understand.
They mean well.
They do.
I
Yeah.
think most of them. I think mean well.
They do. Yeah, it's a common theme in the band's career. Like, well, we all assumed you guys were going to be like
massive by
just
now.
Playing stadiums all the time. What happened? Like
why are you doing real estate, Pat?
What did you do with the church band in the real estate business? Well, I started this.
My backup plan.
Even your fucking bio has a joke in it. It's according to Ehud. But like how do you yeah, what's your response in that situation?
I always, I come from it. I come at it as a guy who's got 4 kids, and as a musician, I just go, listen, man. People are like, well, didn't John Mayer used to open for you guys? I'm like, yeah, but look, I would not trade my life for 1 second.
Right.
And I'm a freaking deadhead. I've been to 40 some shows. Like,
yeah.
I was the first guy to say, John is not the right guy for this gig. This is going to be a disaster. And then I went to many shows, and I totally get it, and I'm in. But I would never trade my life for someone who has that.
Yeah.
Look, I was mowing my lawn this morning before I got the hell out of town, and I was like, dude, I don't have any problem mowing my lawn because I like to listen to like podcasts. I listen to podcasts when I mow my lawn.
Right.
And it's all good. It's it's one of the few man things I can do in this world.
Yeah.
Everything else I lack skills of. So if I can show my wife that I mowed the lawn, and I can't, fix the freaking outlet downstairs, but I did that. Look, grass looks good. But I'm sitting there going, I think because I was listening to Orlando Bloom on Stern. And they talked about the money. He only got $170,000 for Lord of the Rings for all three of them. But he's like, oh, I'm so thankful for it. But yeah, I got paid nothing. I'm like, oh, it's $170,000. You got to live in New Zealand, and you got per diem. Your per diem, you said your per diem was really good.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then you went straight from there to Black Hawk Down and Pirates of the Caribbean and 18 other huge movies.
Yeah. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Yeah. And then, you're like, well, money's always the thing. Like, it would be nice to be like, to pay some bills on time on a regular basis.
Right.
And have that not be, like, what is it like to have
stress.
To have that not worry, to just focus on music?
I would love that.
And maybe it's just... And look, I felt a small wave of it with Kickstarter because it certainly helps. Yeah, you did great on that. But, it's amazing how quickly that money can go.
I know.
Because Kickstarter is expensive and being in a band is expensive. And, I mean, everything's...
And life is expensive.
Dude, it's crazy.
Eating good food, for instance.
Yes. College is expensive, Pat.
I'm in full denial about college.
3 more tuitions to go.
4. Well, maybe by the time Jack... there'll be no college existed on planet Earth at that point.
But we're still swinging for the fences, bro. Don't count us out. No, couple of best new artists
sitting
over
right
here, man.
Discovered on this podcast.
The stadiums are waiting.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cleveland, when you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you get in for free. You give them the CD, right?
Yeah.
And they make you sign that thing. It says if you get in, what's the deal? If you get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they make you sign something.
What if?
I gave them my CD, and they let me in for free.
They let you in for free if you have a CD.
For free.
So if you're like just a bonehead at home, you want to go to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just print one at home.
If you're a musician, if you're a working musician, and you give them your CD,
you get in for free.
They say, all right, so when you get inducted into the Rock Hall of Fame, you'll remember this moment, and you'll.
I think they say you'll agree to play here. You'll agree to let us. You'll agree to donate something of yours.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a laughable moment, but I'm like, I'll give you something. I take it seriously. It's pretty cool.
I think you should take it
They
seriously.
put the Wetlands microbus in the front lobby for a while, and our sticker was on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So.
Yeah.
I mean, they were pretty much in there.
I had a painting in there once.
What?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if it's still there or what.
That's cool.
How'd that happen?
I don't remember the story. I knew you were going to ask me. I really don't, but I did have a painting in there. But, yeah.
So Cleveland's home for you.
Oh, Akron was where I come from.
All right.
Yeah. But I left there when I was 18, moved down south to Atlanta, lived there for 4 or 5 years, and then I got signed by Peter Gabriel and moved to England, and then moved to New York, and I've been in New York ever since.
Peter Gabriel signed you.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I've had a
Patrick just wet his pants.
Did you? You love some pizza, Gabriel?
What is the conversation with him like? Just a.
Well, I mean, that was my foray into sort of the professional recording music situation, so it was just a real interesting. I mean, Brian Eno sang on my first album.
Let's drop some more names, Poppy.
Drop away. We love that.
Yeah.
T-Bone Burnett.
Well, that was my second album. Yeah. I recorded my first 3 records at Real World. I used to live at Real World for months. I would be there. Yeah.
Patrick just threw a chair through the window.
Yeah, well, you should just go because it's not that hard to get in. I mean, you could just roll
past security.
There is no real security there.
Security,
you could just roll up into box and go there. It's not out.
You're making it. Give it to them.
Yeah, you're making it impossible, but it's really not.
Is Peter Gabriel levitating in a kimono with just crystals around him?
Surprisingly, he often is. But yeah, no, it was just like, you know, it was so out the box. I was like working minimum wage, and then all of a sudden I was in that scene. And
that came when you were down in Atlanta?
Yeah, I just gave a demo tape to a friend who gave it to a friend who then sent it to this A&R guy in New York, and that guy gave it to Peter Gabriel. It was like so crazy the way it happened.
Yeah.
Like it was like lightning striking in a way.
So it's not the same incredible level, but when we here in New York, when we hired our attorney,
Mm-hmm.
that was when it was official we wanted to be signed, because that's like, you got a lawyer.
Yeah.
Then he calls the labels, and we played the Bowery,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a special just for a signing thing.
Which is a big venue for that.
It is, but
Bowery's a big one.
We were like a staple at Irving. Like, oh, I guess we'll do the Bowery. It's smaller, but we'll do it.
Yeah.
And we went there.
Crushing venue.
I love it there.
Especially if you rammed it like you must have.
Oh, it was crushed.
Yeah.
It was just fantastic. I'll never forget our manager. Maybe that's why we haven't been back. He called the owner of the Bowery, who was a woman at the time. He walked right up to her and goes, "You're a fucking dick," to this
Why?
woman. There was all kinds of, something happened, like some bad money went down. I don't know what happened.
Something weird
I walked
happened.
by it. I was like, "Oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
We gotta cut ties with this guy."
Yeah.
And Steve Lillywhite walked over at the moment and goes, "Hey, Steve Lillywhite," and all these my lawyer was there. He goes, "Capitol, Warner, Atlantic, they're all here. Jason Flom, all these people."
Uh-huh.
And Lillywhite appears, and I just go, "Let's go upstairs." So we sit with Lillywhite, and for those of you who don't know, Steve Lillywhite produced all these great records of U2, and
he worked with Peter Gabriel.
He did work with Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
And you know, he helped Dave Matthews start as well.
I didn't know that.
And he did their first record, first few records, and a couple others
later on.
Yeah, but he was starting his own record label.
Wow.
And we couldn't get over the fact that we might make a record with him. And then he said, "Well, I'm going to start my own label." And at the same time, we had all these other labels showing interest with big financial numbers.
Mm-hmm. And you went with Warner Brothers.
And of course, we ended up going with well, it's Warner Brothers. Seems to make sense. And I think back and, you know, look, I'm proud of what we did at Warner, and it's the record business. I'm sure it would have been a different shitstorm at some other label.
I have moments like that where I think back, oh, I wish I would have done that. And not even saying you wish you would have, but like thinking of things, like you wonder.
You were also on Virgin at a point?
Well, they were, I mean, Peter Gabriel's label went through Virgin.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you got to work with Peter, and I mean, on some level that has to be like, damn, that's...
Yeah, it's wild.
For people that didn't get to do it, like us two sitting here,
And
Patrick going...
friends.
Yeah.
Still a good dude?
Yeah, he's a great dude. Yeah.
Oh, man.
The label's, I think, great label.
So it's still going strong.
It's still going, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Steve's, I think, came and went.
Everyone's figuring it out all the time, I think, in the music business now, you know? Like, streaming and all that. Like, what is this business, and how are we going to do it?
I was out in Burbank in 99 at Warner, and we go the whole tour of the place. It's this giant building, the ski chalet kind of like extended, you know, version of Target. And then you go into like this one little tiny room. And they're like, "This is our internet wing. We don't really know
what this is yet."
There's there were 6 computers in that room.
Right.
I was like, "Oh," they're like, "We don't know what it's going to be, but we got the computer." I'm like, "Okay, next room, please. Show me where Sinatra was signed."
Well, Peter.
Where did Van Halen record?
Yeah, Peter Gabriel was like, to give you an example of his intelligence, I remember him talking to me about streaming was going to be the future back then. Like, he was on top. Like he,
of course.
Yeah, he was just. He's like that. Like super. Yeah, just the way his brain works. It's just on some other level, you know. Like in the 90s, like he was, or, you know, just like, I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating that slightly, early 2000s or something like that, you know. And then just also he made music with Chimpanzee too, so there's that. You know, like, so it's just some people think differently than other people, you know, like, but what you guys did, I think, you know, big names aside, is actually more impressive, because you cultivated a massive base, you know, organically. And that's something I didn't ever really do. Mine was like this sort of fluke of fate. I mean, I learned. I taught myself.
If that came quickly to you, then yeah.
Yeah.
We just hit the road, and it was not like, well, why'd you do that on? Why'd you do that? Like, well, I wanted to play 8 nights a week if possible, as a solo dude. So I was always obsessed with just scheduling as many gigs as I could.
And you were doing all that yourself.
Yeah, and it just didn't seem all that difficult to call a bar and be like, hey, I got a lot of friends. We're gonna put. I can remember so many bars saying,
it is difficult,
hey,
though, dude.
Don't claim you're gonna bring all these people. I'm like, well, we got some friends, and they got some friends, and I bet you we're gonna put 50 people in there. And they're like, well, if you do more than 10, we'll be happy. And then 80 people show up, and then it would snowball. And then our thing was we brought a lot of drinkers. People would drink, and they would say, oh man, you guys bring more. Your 75 people drink more than our 300 sellouts for these pop shows that come in here. So you can come back anytime you want.
Yeah.
So that became sort of the benchmark for a lot of our shows, and it's still to this day.
Yeah. And where did you learn? I mean, here's why it's difficult, because a lot of people have a lot of demons in their way, where it's like their self-esteem, like to have the confidence to do that. Like, what do you think gave you that strength? I mean, is that something you learned from your parents? How do you trace that back? And also being a creative and somebody who's organized and a bit like who can self-manage and who did that right from the jump. Like that is an unusual skill set.
Yeah, I guess
it is. It really is.
So my brother handed me a guitar when 16 and said, "You should play guitar." You know, I played piano and clarinet before that, but despised it because it was so rigid and recitals and things that I just couldn't deal with. But I always loved the fun element when he would take me to concerts, and I was in 8th grade and like going to see Robert Plant and Little Feat and Jimmy Buffett, and like these are big, like people are having a great time here. I always was aware how much fun people were having, but my parents would take me to the Smithsonian all the time and see jazz shows and see world music and all kinds of different stuff, classical overtures and stuff. We took it all in.
So they were aware of culture.
Yeah, I just loved like when people would freak out when we would see the 1812 overture and the real cannons get blasted. Everyone's like, this is incredible, and it really was. It would give me goosebumps thinking about it. So I'm like, that moment needs to be created all the time. Like, so I always strive to be that guy that was creating that moment. If I look back on things that I sort of organized in high school, and I wasn't like the popular guy because I was in a band, and that was like a weird thing. Now if you're in a band now, it's probably cool, but when I was in high school, you were all of a sudden, oh, you're the band guy? I thought you played on the basketball team. You quit that for playing guitar? Like, yeah, I'd rather play guitar. And you're jumping around like you're in freaking Living Color, literally, like we were playing Living Color songs.
Cult of Personality.
Oh yeah, we played the whole damn record. But it was yeah.
You told me you saw them live.
I did.
I did too. I traveled to see them. I forgot to tell Vernon that.
Where'd you go?
Man, Vernon is cool. Cleveland. I mean, from Akron.
But are we talking 80s?
Yeah, like because when that record landed, they were like the Beatles for a second. Really? It was like massive.
They were the only ones doing that.
Yeah.
It was really something.
It was something. It was
Stones had them out opening up.
It was an exciting situation. Yeah.
It really was. And and that energy from those shows, and I used to go see this band 24/7 Spies.
Oh yeah. I remember them.
Love that band.
Yeah.
And so that's
Fishbone.
Oh yeah, Fishbone was a staple.
Yeah.
And we would see these bands, and I loved the energy of the shows. I loved that vibe, but I knew, like, all right, I can't really do that, but I can bring that energy to what my music will be.
Right.
It's about being, hopefully it's authentic. If it feels authentic, then I think people connect with that. But shit, I got sidetracked talking about Spies. What the hell were we talking about?
Well, I was asking you, like, I guess how you had the confidence to just to be organized and to like put yourself out there and to just go for it, because I think that is an actual unusual trait.
Well, so I was going to say about high school, I remember booking convincing people we need to go on a ski trip, and I'm going to book the Greyhound bus, and I'm going to sell these ski packages.
See, this is not normal.
This is at all. It wasn't normal.
That is not normal, dude. That's what I'm saying. Nobody does that.
I know. So and I remember calling people.
Level of confidence.
I remember
I have a friend like that. It's just their level of confidence is just.
Yeah,
there's nothing that can happen that will.
Well, okay, so that same confidence level, I remember calling the popular people, right? And you couldn't text them. Call their freaking house and be like,
I bet you were one of those semi-populars.
Sort of
the populars.
Outskirt.
I was
skirted
popular.
many social groups. I hung with everyone.
I was kind of a freak, but I was kind of an acceptable freak.
Yeah, I hung with all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
My good friends were in this band, Damage Incorporated. They were a Metallica tribute band. We all hung out. It's but I can remember making the call to be like, if I can just rope in a couple of these more popular people, maybe they'll all go on the ski trip. We'll have I know they're going to have a great time. I don't need to hang with them, but I know they're going to have a good time. And I remember getting in this damn Greyhound bus. It was junior year at the bottom of Hunter Mountain in New York, and taking it up to the top. And I got in the bus, and you put all your ski crap on. It's freaking hot, but I was still I'm so fucking nervous that I invited all these people here. I don't really know them. And I got up and went to the back of the bus and threw up my brains out just for the entire trip up. And all I can think of is everyone on this bus knows exactly what I'm doing right now because they can hear me. And I'm going to get to the top of the mountain and be like, all right, let's get skiing. And they're like, did you just throw up the whole way up here? Yeah, I'm not as confident as you probably think I am running this whole thing.
Right.
But organizing those people, I think about that when we do Down the Hatch or OSM, that's thing in Rhode Island. I like the one in Rhode Island is really, there's a lot of logistics. I'm renting out literally mansions in Newport, boats, frickin' trolleys. We go to all sorts of different places. We went to a corn maze and put the musicians in the corn maze and made people go find them. Follow the fucking mandolin and banjo and go.
That's genius.
Go
dude.
find the musician in the corn maze.
That's insane.
That's genius.
Let's see what show you end up in.
It was super fun. I'm like, dude, I would send the music. And these corn mazes, if you don't have a map, you may have to live there now. It's that big. You're gonna never leave.
That's insane.
Yeah, you'd have to get on shoulders.
Oh.
Yeah, so we could see how the fuck to get out.
Where do you find time to sell real estate with all this? I'm still having a hard time tying that together.
Level of confidence, he would sell houses like that.
Well, I do I really ultimately.
Wait, but the Ocean State of Mind is the same as Down the Hatch, just different theme?
Well, no, Down the Hatch is me showcasing 12 to 14 artists or so outside of my band on the beach in North Carolina. We stay put at this one hotel. We used to leave the property and go to other bars and play, but now it's I'd rather just take over it's like we're sitting at the hotel here in Jersey. It'd be like if everything was here, you just have to go and that was the beach, and you just go from the ballroom to your room and we do guitar lessons with fans. We sit around and do a singer how did you write that song? And it used to be just a few people. Now it's people show up with guitars with tags on them. How do I make a G chord? And we'll show them. And it's all the artists dig it because they get to hang with each other. A lot of us.
I would just be like, you look it up on YouTube, you fucking idiot. I wouldn't. I'm just joking. It's a
joke. Sometimes we do. We have to cut it off sometimes. People are just like, wait, so where does my pinky go? I'm like, we're done here.
Yeah, you just want attention, okay?
Yeah, we're done.
Go to therapy.
No, we're going to teach you how to smash your guitar.
Do you have super fans that show up for that you kind of don't, that make it uncomfortable? Or
many years ago, I think I just adopted the it's whoever's a big fan is a big fan, and they're, they're help paying your bills.
Yeah.
And if you,
I wish I adopted that sooner.
What's the word? Yeah, well, for so long we're don't even go out and sign stuff.
Yeah.
The mystique, we're Kiss.
I know.
Don't go out there. That's that's so lame. And now we're hanging out before the show. Hey, can I get you a drink?
Yeah.
Get you some mott sticks?
I know, isn't that funny? Well, because you even said like about like the 8th grade reunion, like these are friends before music, so they're friends for the right reasons. And I'm just like thinking, yeah, but like the whole music thing has been so demystified now. It's almost like there's no, like just because you're a musician now, there's no sort of extra. I don't feel like there's an extra pool in a way.
There's not.
You know what I mean?
There's not, and it is.
Which is fine with me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, honestly, there was like a growing up and seeing rock stars from the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. They were so unrelatable.
Right.
Like, I couldn't be David Lee Roth. No fucking way.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to meet that guy because he's probably not that great of a dude.
We want you on the podcast, Diamond Dave.
Diamond Dave would be amazing.
Shout out David Lee
Shout
Roth.
out David Lee Roth.
Please call us.
Oh, I would love to talk. I would love to talk to him in that regard.
In that capacity, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like I remember even meeting the Atomic Punks, the Van Halen tribute band at the Whiskey, and they put on one hell of a show, and we left literally with our shirts off.
Right.
This was like 5 years ago. We were playing House of Blues and Sunset. And the next night, freaking Atomic Punks. I'm like, we're going. 2 guys in the band got tattoos that night. Like, it was a legendary Los Angeles night.
Yeah.
But I remember leaving and talking to Ralph, who is now the lead singer of what's the name of that tribute 80s freaking hair mockery band?
Poison?
No, that's a real band.
Oh.
These guys do like what is it? They're called Steel Panther.
Oh yeah.
Steel
They're
Panther.
wild.
Steel Panther also under another name is the Atomic Punks, and they do a tribute. Because they can crush anything.
Yeah.
And Ralph is this lead singer of Steel Panther and the Atomic Punks. He looks like David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
And he totally acts like him too. He like blew me off on he's loading out drums like with no shirt on after the gig at the Whiskey. I'm like, dude, you just great night. He's like, he basically told me to fuck off.
Really?
And I thought it was great. I was like, you're still in character. Great. Thanks, man. Love it.
You're still
dude, you're still killing it. All right, I'm gonna go, man. Have a good night.
Yeah.
I was fine with it. It was all good.
That's hysterical.
So, I don't know how we got talking about Halen.
I cut you off, so you were going to explain what Ocean State of Mind is.
Oh, yeah. And Ocean, that's the one with the, like, when you put people in a maze and have the mansions.
So what is that?
So, all right. We have. There's not too many things we haven't done. I limit it to 75 people, which is, like, really almost awkwardly intimate. People get to it, they're like, whoa, we're on like a retreat.
Right.
But we live in this place in Rhode Island, and a lot of the little towns in Rhode Island are just super unique. It started with when I moved to Rhode Island and I would travel the country and people were like, you live where? I thought you were a Virginia band. Like, I live in Rhode Island. I've been there for 20 years. Like, what is that?
And then
they get all dumb. They get all dumb.
Canada?
They get all dumb and start
Rhode
being like, "Is that
Island.
the Hamptons? What is that? Where? How do you?
Oh, you're one of them now.
What is that?" And I'm like, "It's a crazy, awesome place."
Family Guy put Rhode Island on the map or something.
Quahog, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Family.
I
Everyone
haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's really something.
So 75 people.
75 people, and I do it for on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to not have any other humanoids in any place that we go. Because I'm only looking for 75 people.
Right.
If I needed 500 people, it'd have to be a weekend. But I like it that it's like we take over a hotel right on the water in this little town in Bristol, Rhode Island, and everything is just, it looks so different that unless you live within 30 miles of Rhode Island, it doesn't look like anywhere else in the country. It really doesn't. And if you go there, you're gonna.
What's different about it?
It's just like the tiny little charming seaport towns that you can walk to everything. It's just so unique. And when I moved up there, I'm like, this place is incredible. I grew up 10 minutes from the Pentagon, and it's like, this is just madness down there.
Right.
And this is like tranquility and like pride in America for all the right reasons. They have the red, white, and blue painted streets. It's the oldest 4th of July parade in the country. It's like 200 and something annual. And anyway, we hang out in this town, Bristol, and we know all the restaurants and bars. We take over these little spots. So you're seeing 5 or 6 or 7 artists perform in like a little restaurant that you would normally see at a Bowery or a City Winery. And Livingston Taylor's playing this year. Tony Luca, Who else is coming? I really do like Anna Rose. I like to keep it as many New England artists as I can because I'm showcasing Rhode Island as a travel destination.
So people travel to it. It's like
no one really from New England will
Did you get
go.
the state to sponsor it or something?
No, every year someone's like, "Why don't you get the state involved?" I'm like, it's so under the radar. I try and keep it a little low key, and I think I may move it up to Maine next year. I don't know, but because it does get to be a point where you're like, well, what else? How many times will these people come back to go on a boat ride with us? But look, this year we're gonna play on the boat, and the corn maze thing was just like, this is a crazy idea, but screw it, let's do it. And people wrote back and were like, that was the coolest thing I've ever done. Like I would have never gone to a stupid corn maze.
Yeah.
And you brought me there, and then I was walking through, chatting with the musicians. They're playing their big songs while we're walking around.
Right.
And that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
It kind of will never happen again unless I come back to this thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's Burning Man and all that. And I've never been to these.
The logistics sound like a nightmare.
Dude, the logistics are a lot. It's not some big money maker for me. It's more of like a
passion project.
Hey, believe in what I believe in. And the artists leave and they're like, I had one artist come in and play for 30 minutes and he sold 47 CDs to 75 people.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
That is. What inspired that idea for you? Like what about it is resonates with your belief system? What about that?
I just really like to see people have a discovery moment and be like,
yeah, it goes back to like when you were a kid.
Yeah, I want them to be like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
This is such a great place. Look at this view. I have this drink in my hand. I got this dude playing these songs right here sitting next to me. I'm with all my friends who I didn't even know. And now these people come back every year. They've become all really good friends. And that's something really cool that I never thought of. Like,
right.
I've brought some people together.
Yeah.
I've brought musicians together, which I love doing.
Yeah.
But I didn't count on like, oh, I'm like, this is my new best friend from life. This girl helped me get through my cancer 3 years later.
Wow.
And I would have never met her if she didn't come to your festival.
Yeah.
So that stuff is really something else.
Yeah, that's great. That's setting up some nice karma for you, man.
It's not, it was really apparent last year down the hatch. People were just like, you don't understand. We're all together because big groups of people get together and they're not cliquey. They're like, sometimes when I'm writing the text for the next year, I'm like, wow, are people who have never been going to think this is like some weird cult and not come because like, oh, these people are all best friends. I don't know if I can get in the circle.
Right.
Like, no,
it's a lot of the artists you bring are also good friends of yours. I'm going to name drop like Stephen Kellogg and Griffin House and Glenn Phillips. I keep seeing their names.
Yeah.
Dan Wilson.
Sure. These are guys that I don't, if I don't think that, I mean, it's not like, oh, if I can't go get a beer with this person, they can't come.
Right.
But honestly, it's kind of like that. Like, we got to be like.
So David Lee Roth is not invited.
He's always invited. He'd be. I would be. It would just be.
He's on the list every year. He never shows up.
It'd be me and Dave. Just me and you, buddy. I spent all the budget on you.
There was like a funny thing. Like I saw this thing in a hotel where somebody was like playing like Van Halen. Like these frat dudes were playing Van Halen in the room, and current David Lee Roth, like was with the camera crew, and they like caught him knocking on the hotel door to do the, hey, it's David Lee Roth.
And they didn't know who he was.
They didn't know who he was.
Oh.
They were like, it was just like,
who's this old dude?
They should
and
be stripped.
Kimono.
It was pretty.
And a kimono.
It was pretty funny. Anyway.
Well,
he's got a podcast.
David's got his own podcast?
Yeah, he's got a podcast, and like he's in Japan in a kimono, and he's just talking.
Is there like,
it's interesting.
Subtitles for what the hell's? Every time he speaks, you're
and
like,
he does it with like an earpiece.
Gotta rewind it.
It's really unique.
Yeah.
I caught him on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Me too.
He was out there, man.
He's out there.
He always is.
Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's like when you take everything. Where did you come up with that shit?
Yeah, he's got a brilliant mind.
He really does, and he would have been amazing. I mean, he was amazing in his time, but in the mid 1800s, he would have been like, "Hey, we're going into the woods. Bring that guy.
Yeah,
it's gonna entertain the shit out of us.
Yeah,
and bring the swords too."
The swords. I had one question before, and again, it's name dropping, but you mentioned all these bands that opened up for you, and the thing I remember most about you guys was the first time I saw you, and it was completely randomly at Hammerstein Ballroom, 2001 or 2, something like that. And Matt Nathanson opened up for you guys.
That's right.
And that was the first time I saw him.
Yeah.
And then I became a huge fan of him. But you got Train and Matt Nathanson and Howie Day.
I'm friends with Matt.
And
he's good.
And shout out Matt Nathanson.
Shout out Matt Nathanson.
Who else is on that list? Like, I'm just curious, because it seems like you gave so many artists who then went on to become great artists, like, an opportunity and a chance.
I mean, there was a lot of swapping of fan bases between us and Sister Hazel.
You guys use protection.
Hey, it's the 90s. Everyone woke up with a rubber on.
I just saw Sister Hazel today.
Yeah, I heard they were in town.
Yeah.
So Sister Hazel, Guster.
Really?
We talked about Train. I mean, Howie Day I met when he was a junior in high school, and he ended up
and John Mayer,
subleasing our bus from us. Yeah, I mean, God, there's just. Do you remember Aware Records? Remember that being a thing? So Aware was a company out of Chicago. They did compilation CDs, and it was like a big goal to get on these things because they had their first one had Matchbox 20, Hootie, Edwin McCain, and somebody else that did really well. And that was before they had these hits out. Matchbox 20 was actually they were under a different name. Tabitha's Secret, yeah. And they went on to put out, I don't know, 15 or 16 of these compilations. John Mayer was signed to Aware Records with Columbia. Basically, when Mayer took Aware over to Columbia, they kind of just were like, well, let's just follow this guy. Train also did that. Train was on the same compilation we were on with Meet Virginia, but they were only big in San Francisco.
Yeah,
they had never left San Francisco.
For a long time.
Literally, they were the first of 4 out with us, and Pat would, sitting here, he would agree. It's like, well, we were at the Double Diamond in Aspen, and they were just over it. They're like, we're done. We're breaking up the band. Like, this is ridiculous. We're playing for 5 people. It's not just the tour. It's just we'll just be a big San Francisco band. That's it. Like, you guys, they had a thing. It was back then. They were like that first record had this raw thing about it. They've gone on to be like a pop sensible band, but
yeah, I like their hits. Like, I actually like them. I mean, that's kind of a guilty pleasure. It's not cool to say, but
they're massive, like headlining Jones Beach. They're
massive,
yeah.
Throughout
so it's like, don't ever give up. That's what we're saying.
Throughout the 2000s, they really struggled.
So what happened? What was the turn?
Well, I just remember telling them, like, you guys, you're just basically you're too good to bail on this. There's so many people that hear even just Meet Virginia and go, dude, who sings that song? And I've a lot of bands have come across us. Nobody's ever had a reaction when I play that song for someone. Right from the, she doesn't know an address. They're all in.
Yeah, they're good.
It's like they're right in, and they've managed to, Pat's a smart guy. He's kept it going, and it's funny. I saw all the guys who I knew from Train. They just posted a picture of 4 of them hanging out in Las Vegas, 4 of the original members who are no longer in it for various reasons. Some of them left it on their own terms. So I don't know if they're forming like another version of Train or what, but it's good to see those guys because we played, the Elbow Room in Columbia, South Carolina, and they opened up for us at 328 in Nashville, and Atlanta was the Roxy or the Chameleon Club and these were just, I don't know. I always felt like it was never a good thing to have an opening band that was not that. It was a bummer if they weren't great. You want them to be great. Angie Aparo from Atlanta at all, that name? He's a great singer-songwriter. Anyway, every time we'd have him out, it was like he would just crush the room, and the band would get fired up to play our own set. And, you know, from those rock boats we would do, that there's a cruise called the Rock Boat. We've done many of them. Matt Nathanson has done those with us. And it's, you know, there's so many people do what they do very well, and that's Down the Hatch, Ocean State of Mind. I bring these artists in that are like, they do what they do. No one does it better than that. That, like, I always like, if like James Taylor was like, I'm coming to your house for dinner, get somebody to come play, not yourself. Like, pick somebody. I'm like, I'd pick anyone from those things and be like, play a song. You're going to be blown away.
Right.
And whether or not it's full rock show, like we'd have to go on after, you know, Cowboy Mouth. We've done a bunch of touring with.
Remember them.
Do you know those guys?
Yeah, the drummer.
Fred plays up front.
Singer,
It's just an onslaught of just nobody wants to follow that band because it's like they just mop the floor.
What happened with Train where they just had a hit basically? Like they didn't.
Hits,
well, yeah, but like I'm just talking about the moment they
Meet
go
Virginia.
from like we're gonna give up to like becoming a massive band. What do you remember? What happened?
Well, they kept slugging away, and they started getting a little bit of love down in Birmingham.
The Nick.
Yeah.
I played there.
Yeah, that's right. And then there was a radio station.
Like radio
down there.
station, yeah.
Scott Register down in Birmingham I forget that radio station, but they were pretty influential.
Mm-hmm.
Back then some of the AAA radio stations were really crushing San Francisco. You got KFOG and KBCO in Colorado, and in Denver, and then whatever the Birmingham one was, they meant tickets. They played They played Meet Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
They'd freaking sell out 5 Points Music Hall,
right.
like crushing the tune over and over. And I remember they played some sort of. At one point, we had the same manager, so they had some sort of show in Birmingham that they looked at and were like, "It's caught on. There's 10,000 people at the show. We're not even signed to Columbia yet."
Right.
So.
So it just happened that way.
It just kept slugging away. I mean, Pat believed in it obviously, and the band was great, and they're well deserving of it because, like you said, they just keep cranking out these hits.
Yeah. Are you writing songs that you think can be hits?
I mean, what is that anymore? I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I constantly think like, oh, if I really want to just focus on that, I'll hear someone's hit, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Be like, well, I could have wrote that.
Yeah.
But I don't ever. I'm always writing for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a cop out. I mean, yeah, I think I just got to get in the mindset to be like, screw it. Just sit down for a month and only write for other people and try and craft like something that's like,
perfect pop song.
Yeah.
I guess so, but
well, I mean, there's a skill set to that. And there is formulas to it, and there's certain things that the lyrics are allowed to talk about. Like I've listened on. I mean, it's not fun when
do you do a lot of that stuff?
I don't do a lot of it. I have done it. I learned what the formula is and wrote within those parameters before. It's limitations in art are not always a bad thing.
No.
And it's like people are loath to admit that they ever do that kind of thing, but like the Beatles were doing it, and they a lot of their songs fit within those parameters of just like certain what the lyrical stuff is. I mean, I usually veer off of it when I do experiment, and I definitely don't do that often. It's usually I just write from. I let songs just happen. Because I feel like if I enjoy it, that's when it's something really good is going to happen. And my most popular songs are ones that come from more of an unconscious place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've experimented with it before. I was just wondering if you have.
Are you planning on doing another full length record? Or are you
my full length comes out October 11th.
Oh, nice.
Back camera. October 11th. Yeah. It's called Comeback World. Yeah.
And the songs for that came from where?
We're
in
interviewing him.
In the writing process. No, I'm just curious. Since he asked about it.
No, I'm serious.
Well, that came from from a lot of rebuilding my life over the last 3 years. So I think that record But I'm also in a band with Peter Buck called Arthur Buck.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, and we're putting out our second record after the solo record. And that's more of a rock and roll. Like when you were saying you had more of a rock and roll project, I have that too.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a rock and roll band. It's a rock and roll record we made.
Did you guys meet down in Georgia?
He started coming to see me play in Seattle when I was like touring Come to Where I'm From.
Oh, gotcha.
And he caught wind of it, I think, through T-Bone Burnett.
Okay.
And then I opened up for REM in Europe.
Oh,
about
wow.
like 10 or 15 shows or something like that.
Shit,
Yeah, playing arenas.
Oh, my God.
By myself.
Solo,
yeah. And similar, they didn't have me come on in the middle of their set and do my best song. But to their credit, Michael Stipe came out and introduced me, and then Peter Buck played like the last song with me every night, which is the equivalent.
That's the equivalent in REM world.
It's the equivalent in REM world.
Did you play with them during their set?
And then I did, yeah. I actually did come out and jam on their it was more like The Wait, not really. It was like a couple of their songs I played guitar. But
Murmur changed my life. Like that record.
No, they're one of my favorite bands. So it's interesting being in a band with him, And
oh my God, yeah.
Writing, because he writes all the music, like in terms of like the chords and the riffs, and then I just write top line over it.
Oh wow.
So it's like it's a chance for me to get out of singer-songwriter dome.
Oh cool.
Which is fun.
Very cool.
But
all right. Yeah. Well, we got to find somebody like a Buck. What are we gonna get?
Yeah.
Third guitar player for Johnny Special.
Johnny Marr.
Johnny Marr. Whoever we can get, man. Whoever's out there.
Yeah, 38 Special's a good idea.
Yeah, 38 with a Molly Hatchet.
Whatever happened to them?
Dude, hold on loosely.
They're just being legends.
Dude, they're still on. Well, we did the Skinnerd cruise.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only cruise I've ever been flicked off from the front row for disappointment in our set.
Nice.
Dude stood there in his jorts and his.
That's like winning a Grammy, really.
Yeah, I mean, he literally, I was impressed he could hold both his middle fingers up for an entire song of ours. Our songs get long. Like, let's just keep playing it. Fuck it, 9 minutes long. How long can you hold your freaking arms up? You should have done a
Dylan and been like, I don't believe you.
We went on after Molly Hatchet. There was no freaking way we were going to compete with this shit. And it was, we tried to be
on a Skinnerd
cruise? Well, they just like, they're from Virginia. They're like sort of Southern Rocky. I'm like, well, I love the Allman Brothers, but we don't sound like them. Mm-hmm. And we were thrown to the wolves, literally, like just rough. But 38 Special was on that boat.
Oh, really?
So they're still doing
killing it.
I think they like merged Skinnerd and 38. I think they're the same band. They just play different songs.
They just put on different shirts.
It's like different scarves, different leather vests.
I think it's still Steel Panther as 38.
Jeez, they could do everything. I mean,
tell me about Empire Guitars.
Oh, yeah, it's a killer guitar shop in Rhode Island.
Oh yeah,
it's legit.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just.
What kind of guitar do you play?
I've been playing a Les Paul for the last, well, I've had it for a while, but I don't always play it. I've been playing a Strat. Strat's like my go-to.
Oh, yeah?
Comfort zone thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Tele that I love.
I just got the new Fender Acoustasonic.
I play that. It's cool, man.
How great is it? I got two of them. That's what I'm going to take on my next tour. I'm just going to just use those.
It's
I love it.
Super comfortable.
It's because it's like because I'm doing solo and I do looping and stuff, so it's like it has a great acoustic thump.
Somebody
then
I
can hit to the back pickup and it's electric. It's brilliant.
They're cool. I think they're gonna see a lot more people playing those things. Somebody huge was playing it recently. I was like, oh, look at that. All right, cool.
I think Jack White's been playing it.
Oh, he has?
I think so. That's what somebody told me. I don't know.
All right. But acoustics, I play old Gibsons, and I fell in love with. There's a dude, I forget his name, in New York that supplies like all the cool old shit to the studios back when Avatar was thriving, and he brought by a 1940s J45, and I was like, oh, this is where it should be at.
Yeah.
So.
You into Keith Richards, like more of a Keith Richards. Well, he played acoustic, right? The Gibson acoustic.
Yeah, I just when I heard that Gibson, it sounded so different than anything that I'd ever touched, and I was like, oh, they don't all have to be like pristine, handmade, like glistening guitars. They can just sound like a
gnarly.
Stones record.
Yeah.
They'd just be, like sound like every guitar I heard growing up. Like, oh, there it is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been on the quest to find another one of those, but I got 2 that I love, and that's enough. It's more than you need.
Yeah, and then you got a whole van full of a bunch of other guitars.
No, those are all there. They're upstairs.
Do you know John Alasia?
John Alasia's, I borderline stalked him all through high school.
Shout out John Alasia. I love John.
Did John do this podcast? He should.
We should get John for sure. Yeah, he produced one of my records.
He did?
Yeah, called Graduation Ceremony. And
did he mention he recorded my bar audition tape, Sympathy for the Devil? No, not Me and Julio. Evil Ways by Santana.
Okay, well, when you play My Kitchen, can you do Evil Ways then?
Evil Ways. Oh, yeah.
We're not going to do...
for several hours. That ending can go on forever.
What was your... John really recorded?
John and Doug Derryberry had a band called Derryberry and Alasia. So I also did a record with Doug Derryberry in Brooklyn. I don't know if you know Doug. It
would have gone... I think it would have been better if they called it Alasia and Derryberry.
Alasia and Derryberry. Yeah. Well, talk to John about that. He loathes that band.
It's just an opinion.
They were a huge band, and they were going to be like the next Simon and Garfunkel. And John heard Dave Matthews, and he literally was like, "I'm never playing music again. I'm producing only from now on." And you can't even get him to strum a single Derryberry and Alasia song, and they had great songs.
Really?
But he can't.
Dave Matthews made him quit.
He said, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I'm done. And they were like,
wow.
They were very influential on me as an acoustic guitar player, because John had this way of playing and singing that was very unique. They used to play this bar called Dylan's Cafe in Georgetown, and we would go and see them every Sunday night.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I was obsessed. I saw him. We ran into him in Nashville at some bar.
You should work with him.
Right? I know. We talked about doing some stuff. He taught me what it's like to ask a producer to produce your record, because I asked him to do my first record because he was the guy in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing all sorts of the bigger bands, and I had written one song but hadn't finished the lyrics, and the other song had no lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, the first 2 songs I've written are my most famous songs from the fans.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 songs I sent.
Is that discouraging?
Yeah, a little bit. I think about that. Yeah, Sheryl Crow was on Today's Show today, and they're like, I saw her look on her face when they're like, they voted like, what song? She played a bunch of the new stuff of the new compilation, and then
and they did a vote. What song do you
they
like
did a
the
vote.
best?
What song do you want? And they're like, all I want to do. Her face literally was like, all I want to do. She just wanted to just kill. The whole band was like,
I want to kill you on the road.
This ain't no DJ. Like, oh God. Really, you guys? So I'm like, oh, that's off her first record. But hey, that record, I get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I sent those 2 songs to Alasia, and he wrote back to me. He was like, all right, so this record was supposed to be made in like 3 weeks from this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, were there other 7 songs? And there's no singing on this. I was literally too embarrassed to send him my hummings, my idea. I didn't really know what to I didn't even know I had to send him anything. I thought he was just going to meet me at the studio and press record. I didn't know what his role was.
Right.
So when he said, I have to be honest with you, I can't produce a record, I don't know the music.
Right.
I'm like, well, what do you mean? Why do you got to know the music? I'm the one that writes the music. And he goes, dude, I wish you luck. Go for it, make your record, but I can't produce it. I'm like, okay. So I booked a different studio, recorded the record, and so it goes. But then I went on to work with Jerry Harrison, and when Jerry was like,
oh, that's great, from the Talking Heads.
Yeah, we did our first record. When I turned down Lillywhite and went with Warner, we got Jerry Harrison, and which was funny because Jerry turned down Dave Matthews to do his first record, and Jerry told me, he's like, Lillywhite got that record, and I was pissed.
Yeah.
After the fact, because he did Crash Test Dummies before that or whatever, and they were sort of the equivalent thing to the new Dave Matthews, like.
Did you ever reach out to Lillywhite again?
Oh yeah, Steve's been amazing over the years. The last record I did with all those legendary players from Los Angeles.
Yeah, I was telling Joe about that.
That was like a dream project, and Steve was the one that turned me on to the studio and just the whole, like, I said on the record.
Tell the whole story. What studio? Who was on?
So basically I got, reintroduced to vinyl and started playing all the records that I grew up loving as a kid and was holding. And so I was obsessed with listening to vinyl for like 3 or 4 months. I'm like, well, this is the music that I love. These are the deep cuts. They're not the hits. Like, I'm going to write a record like this. This is, Jackson Browne, James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt, Linda Ronstadt. And I'm looking at these albums and
artifacts.
I'm looking at the musicians. It's all the same 5 people on these records. Yeah. And I had forgotten that. I'm like, oh yeah, there are these guys. They played on all this stuff. And I'm like, well, if I could just get the drummer to sound like this drummer, then the music will sound like this music.
Right.
And I'm not like trying to write that music. It's just at the core of who I am. If you're like, hey, write a song right now, it's going to sound like my last record. Because that's what I was influenced by.
Yeah.
And so long story short, I somehow got the email for Russ Kunkel, who is the drummer, this legendary guy. Wrote him an email. It went into his junk. No, he responded. It went into my junk mail, his response. I never saw the response. Assumed that what I was going to get was him blowing me off, and that's not the case. He wanted to do the record, and I had moved into a different direction and called Sean Pelton in New York to do a record here. And at the time, I got in touch with Leland Sklar, the bassist, and he was willing to, he's like, oh, I want to come play with Sean. That sounds like a great idea in New York. And he goes, I'm still playing with Waddy Wachtel.
Wow.
Do you want him to come too? Like, oh, shit, yeah, I want him to come.
Nah, leave Waddy. Leave Waddy home.
Yeah, like, are you kidding
we don't
me?
need Waddy.
So
they only travel together, those
Yeah. Like, well, fuck yeah, he's going to come. So he says yes.
Sorry, I got to bring him.
Yeah.
And this, the glue that held the whole thing, honestly, this guy, Jeff Pevar, who plays with David Crosby right now, he's just this accomplished guitar player that not a ton of people know him by name to the level of Sklar or Waddy, but he's incredible. And he was in Ray Charles' orchestra. He played with Joe Cocker. Who has he been with? He was just out with Bette Midler, but he was in a band called CPR, which is Crosby, Pevar, Raymond. Raymond is what's that? Mark Cohn.
Mark Cohn.
He's just this guy.
We're going to have Mark on the podcast hopefully this month. Yeah.
Shout out Mark Cohn.
Yeah, Mark Cohn. Oh, he's amazing. But Pevar was, the glue that connected us all. And he goes, hey, man, I played on a James Taylor record with Leland and Russ. Well, Russ will do it. Just find him. And when I found him, he said, oh, I thought you didn't want me on your record. I'm like, you're the only one I wanted on the record. These other guys are all now here at this party. I really just wanted you to come.
Yeah.
And then they all said yes. And
that's amazing.
Along with Danny Kortchmar and Paul Barrere from Little Feat. And it just became this just...
So you manifested it.
I couldn't believe what... And people are just like, what's the worst they're going to say? No? Like, who cares? Just keep asking them.
That's the thing, man. Legends are just people.
They're just people, and they love to play music, man.
Yeah.
And they were super stoked. We went into the studio that Lily White said, I just did this record with this South American singer-songwriter who, I forget his name, but he was so good. And he said, man, he's like the South American Cat Stevens. And
Julio Iglesias?
No, not as popular. Not as popular. Very cool artist. Julio. No. But
shout out Julio.
Shout out Julio.
We're gonna have him on the podcast this month.
Give him my best. Give him my best.
What was the name of that studio?
It's called it used to be called the Producer's Workshop back in the day, and it was where Pink Floyd did The Wall.
Nice.
Ray Charles did some stuff in there. John Lennon did some stuff in there. It looks like nothing. It looks like they haven't dusted, and it's only one little small room with a little ISO booth for me to sit in.
What's that record called?
It's just called Pat McGee.
Okay.
And I went out there. We recorded it all to 2-inch tape live, no rehearsal. They didn't listen to the music that I sent them. I showed them the song one time. They said, press record. And so what you hear on that vinyl and that record that I put out is the same shit I heard in my ears the very first time we played it because that's the take.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like, I'm thinking, oh, I want this one to feel like, an old Robert Palmer song or a Little Feat thing. And they're like, don't say that. Don't tell these guys anything. Just play the song, and whatever their instinct is, if you don't like it, then we can fix it.
Yeah.
And it always exceeded what I thought it could be.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm witnessing, it's like listening to these 70s records and going, how do they do that guitar solo, or how do they come up with that bass part? Like, well, they just do it.
Right.
It just comes out of these humans.
Like breathing.
Like, it's one take. It just happens in one time.
Yeah.
I mean, Waddy's solos are like, I got one that I filmed, like, I'm literally like watching the Hotel California solo. Like, he just plays it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And why if someone else played that, it's nowhere near as cool.
Right.
But he just comes at it, and he's like, Les Paul into amp, no tuner, no nothing, no pedals.
Right.
Turn up the little tiny amp and just go.
Incredible.
But it reminds me of a story you told me. Exactly that, when Keltner put the drums on the graduation ceremony album. You said he was just like floating and like.
Yeah, I mean, like watching, because I've got to play with Jim
record?
Keltner. Yeah, he played the drums on Graduation Ceremony. He's been on a few of my records.
He's incredible.
Shout out! I love Jim Keltner. Yeah, he's a legend and just a great human being.
Yeah.
But when you watch him play drums, it's like this drum orchestra is happening, and it's wonderful. And then you like look into the room where he's playing, and it's like some guy just being super mellow, like holding a stick between his arm, and then like this, and picking up. It's just wild. It's wild. It's like so natural. It's just it's effortless.
What I love,
like what you're saying.
The thing when I talked to Russ Kunkel and I got him on the phone, 2 hours we spoke. He's like, I'm driving down to San Diego from LA. Let's chat about the record. We talked about music, the word drums. None of that ever came up.
Right.
He just wanted to talk about songs, me as a person, what I'm trying to do for music.
What your motivation is.
And what's the song about? What's each? Tell me about these songs. What are they about?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all he wanted to know. And he goes, all right, cool. Let's do it. And at first we were going to Dave's studio, Dave Matthews in Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. But then the travel got weird, and we're like, let's just do it in LA. You guys all live there. I'll come out there.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. We rented a house on Airbnb, and that was the best part because they stayed at the house. So like, they wanted to work. And back when I would make records with the band for with Warner and all that, we get to the studio at 10 a.m. We're like, so we go till like midnight.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll see you at noon. We're done at 5.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we did 4 songs in 5 hours and we took a lunch break.
Yeah.
Because it was only 2 takes per song. So I'm like, this is incredible. And I brought an organ player with us. So we had organ, drums, bass, 2 guitars. And when Waddy would just, like, as they're counting the song in, be like, Telly instead of Les Paul, quick. And then come right into a riff. And then Jeff Pevar would see that, and he would grab his lap steel. And that was that.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Wow, that sounds wonderful.
It was just like...
I can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah, that record I'm really proud of that record.
Pat McGee.
It's just Pat McGee, and everything was just, in comparison to the one we just did, the reunion record, which was, I haven't done a record where I was the only guitar player since my first record in 1994. So, literally 25 years where I just was like, well, I'll play acoustic always and some electric. But this is the only time I've ever been like, I'm just going to put all the guitar parts on.
Yeah.
Because I hear them in my head the way I heard them back in 94. And it was really fun. And those guys definitely inspired me, watching them do what they do.
Yeah.
And being musical and creating these other like riffs.
And not being precious.
No. And I want to go more in that direction.
Yeah, me too.
That's, just seeing that Lucas Nelson show is inspiring to me.
Right.
I mean, Lucas can afford to just be Lucas.
Yeah.
But I think that's all he would do anyway. It's not like he's like fighting the urge to be a pop star.
Yeah.
I think that's just him. So.
Yeah. I think the same can be said for you.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this next one. I did the new one. I'm going to literally finally get the CD in my hand tomorrow. They finally printed them, but I'm already ready to make the next record.
Yeah.
It's like when people finish movies, I guess, and they're like,
yeah, that's wonderful.
Are we getting booted out?
Yeah, let's wrap it up anyway.
Yeah.
It's time.
Okay.
It's all good.
When is
Pat,
the album
thank you for
coming
doing
out,
this.
Album comes out early 2020. It's just going to be called Pat McGee Band Sugar Packet.
Sugar Packet.
Sugar Packet.
And give everybody, like, how do they find you on the internet?
PatMcGee.net. We're working on a brand new website. And, Facebook, Pat McGee Band. Twitter, @Pat McGee, I guess. I don't know. Just find me out there. I'm the dude that's responding to you. So send me a note.
There you go.
Thank you, Pat.
Come to see me in the Outer Banks. We got to get you down there, man.
I would love it.
That'd be fantastic. Come do this there.
I would, yeah.
We talked about it.
Let's do that.
We're getting arrested. We got to go.
All right, we are literally getting arrested. Turn the camera on. Okay, man. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.